what's up, everybody? For those that'll be joining me live, I want to thank you for joining me, and for those that'll be listening to this on archive, thank you for listening as well. To go ahead and talk about political correctness in our culture. Now, political correctness has been around for a long time. It's not something new, but there's been somewhat of a people have always not on camera or off the record, around family, friends, stuff like that. For the most part, have always been anti-PC. It's anti-PC. It's how people act, right? Or that's basically what the idea behind it was, right? The more real, whatever you want to call it. Political correctness, right, has become somewhat of an art form. And where the term kind of derives from, I'm going to find this in Webster's, okay? You just have to understand the culture of things. But that's basically like to say, can a politician, like if you say something that's not PC, it's not going to help you as a politician. That's always been like the key element about PC. This is why, by no coincidence, politicians have been so fake for centuries. That there's that's just the reality behind it. Okay, which is why whenever people rank presidents or put them high on a pedestal, like if there's some saint, those people, right? I think always been to a certain degree a politician, right? But that's it. And PC culture, right? In the dawn with internet and with the world connecting, in the times we live, when you really think about it, I mean, we are connecting with the world. That we communicate with people from England and it's just anywhere in the world, Australia, and on all over social media, even before social media with forums and stuff like that. But with social media, the rise of, like I said, right, the way people act off the record. So you see more of that because of social media. And because of that, you're seeing a lot of people call it a backlash on PC, but I think it was naturally going to happen, right? Because behind closed doors, before social media, people always bashed, the political correct. They always, that's not new. But now they have a voice for it, right? Now, there's two components to this PC thing, man. Number one, that I want to talk about. There's a lot of components to it. I'm just going to talk about two. Number one, right? I've noticed two trends evolving, right? One is the super sensitive police culture, right? These super sensitive, fucking liberals that, just get upset about every single fucking little thing said. You can't say anything, something negative about it, or tearing it apart, or you're hateful in your heart because you said that, or whatever it is, right? A lot in college campuses now, and it is a little disturbing, right? Because while I understand a lot of the things you hear at a college campus should be an area where people exchange ideas and debate, and converse with one another. And you cannot shut out people just because you want your safe space, right? There's a reality there. There's a lot of people that are just ultra PC. You see a bad word in front of them. If you say bitch, all of a sudden you hate women. If you say anything, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? if I say, hey, that guy's a fucking retard, all of a sudden you have something against, mentally disabled people. It's just, you can't say anything, right? So me, I don't act PC per se. Sometimes I'll call somebody a retard, or I'll say things that are just not PC, not something that a politician is going to get points for if they do it, right? But I'm not a politician, thankfully, right? That is true, and I wanted to make sure I pointed that out before I talk about the second component here. That there is, in fact, ultra sensitive PC warriors out there that are that everything offends them. They have something negative to say or positive to say, or whatever the case might be, them around them, right? And it is real, and it is a problem, and it is a target against free speech. Make no mistake about it. You shut somebody out from expressing themselves, you're attacking free speech, period, right? So again, I just wanted to point that out. I'm not ignoring that. I understand that is a problem, right? Okay, so I get it, but then you also have, however, and I could kind of see them linked to one another, but a lot of individuals now, right, that are using I'm not PC to say some hateful shit, like legitimate shit. Or they're using the whole, well, I'm not going to be PC, but I'm going to tell it like it is, and then they proceed to say some pretty hateful shit. So, fine line. All right? If I'm walking around, right? If I'm in a college campus and I'm talking to one of my friends and he says a joke and that fucking joke's retarded, get the fuck out of here. And if somebody walks up to me, excuse me, sir, what did you just say? Not my friend, that he's fucking retarded. That's a stupid joke. I have a brother that, was born mentally disabled. That's not a very nice thing to say, sir. Maybe you should watch what you say. Okay, what if somebody overhears you? There's people with feelings, right? That is a problem. Yes, okay, I get it. But time, all right? if I walk around, right, and I say, I'm not going to be PC, fuck this shit, okay? All fucking black people are fucking terrible people. I'm just calling it like it is. Then, obviously, there's no fine line there. There's no like, well, that could have been PC, that could not have been PC. Like, we obviously know, it has nothing to do with PC. Not PC as an excuse, right? Also, you cannot say I'm not going to be PC and then be anti-facts, right? Like, you can't say, hey, man, I'm tired of all the PC bullshit. Why don't we just call it like it is? All the illegal immigrants are killing and raping people. That's not a factual statement. That's not true. Why are you saying something that isn't true? Just because you're saying I'm not going to be PC about it doesn't make it true. This idea that just because you're not going to be PC, that it makes it reality or something. Okay, politically correct or non-politically correct has nothing to do with truth. Nothing. The truth is still the truth regardless. Right? But just because you say something in a non-politically correct way doesn't make it, true. And just because you say something in a politically correct way doesn't make it untrue. And I don't think a lot of people can separate that, right? So anyway, you're seeing this a lot now, right? Like me, for example, I don't see myself as an ultra sensitive liberal that, gets offended by every single little thing said, yada, 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 right? I don't particularly watch my mouth. I just talk. But here's the thing. If I bring up for example, hey, that Washington Redskin name is kind of fucked up, isn't it? And I honestly believe that. Hey man, what's with the PC bullshit? You know, like who gives a shit? I remember back in the day, we could call Native Americans what the fuck we want to. Now we got to call them Native Americans. You know, that right there, right? To me anyway, the problem. So anytime you see these ultra sensitive PC people, right? There's two reasons I despise them, right? One, just trying to shut people up and take away their free speech. That's number one, right? They want colleges to give them free, like these, like you know, where nobody could, give their opinion and this, that, and the third, right? You can't have a discussion about abortion without being called like a whatever, right? You know, if I say, I don't know, man, I don't want to see abortions in the third trimester. I just don't, right? Against that. Oh no, you're an anti-feminist and you hate women, and like it's don't tell women what to do with their bodies. And like, look, I'm not telling women what to do with their bodies. All I'm saying is, all right, I'm being unreasonable. I think up 12 weeks, all right. At that point, the nerves are already being formed. Okay, there's already it literally looks like a human being, right? And I don't want to see abortions for that, unless it's like the life of the mother. It's just something that has to be done, which I understand, right? But at that point, like, can't decide before the 12 months if she wants an abortion or not. I don't know what to say. At that point, I just think she needs to go ahead and go along with it. That's my opinion. In fact, I think that was a Supreme Court ruling back in the 60s, right? Which they champion today. So I don't see how I'm being unreasonable, right? But then on the other side, you have the other side, okay, that literally think there's already life the moment you stop having sex with a girl, right? Like they think like after the sex session, right? There's already a third person in the room. Like it's come on, all right. If that's the case, every time we wear a condom, we're fucking, we're bringing a bunch of fucking murderers and shit, right? So like, here's my thing. I think the fact that people can't come together and have reasonable discussions on things without there being attacks, that's definitely a problem, right? What I don't like, and it kind of trolled off there, but it reminds me of this, right? I remember when Hillary Clinton tried an old political kind of, it was kind of a sleazy move by her on Bernie Sanders, right? See, politicians, they do things without saying it. Like, you know what I mean? But they were putting it out there, the Hillary campaign, that Bernie Sanders supporters, right, the Bernie bros, were a bunch of misogynist pigs, right? And in several instances in her debates against Bernie Sanders, she insinuated, all right, without saying it, but she insinuated Sanders was being sexist, right? Now, I don't think it worked, and I don't really think that's why she won, right? But, or maybe it did with some women, I don't know, right? But the reason that's stupid is because when you do confront someone who is sexist, like a Donald Trump, no one's going to take that line of attack serious, all right? Nobody's going to take it serious. Right? If you're not reasonable when you call somebody out on some bullshit, if you're calling everybody out on small petty shit, which a lot of these PC people do, then everything is going to be seen as petty shit, right? You, in a way, desensitize the whole thing. So I think anyone with a brain knows that, yes, there is people that are ultra sensitive and way too PC, and there's the PC police, right? And then you have individuals who use the anti-PC card to say some real hateful shit about people, right? Hey man, I'm just not PC. I just call it like it is. PC doesn't mean lying, or that's not what it means. Okay, it doesn't mean anti-fact and anti-truth. It's just how you word things. Okay, you're a little more sensitive with the wording that you use. All right, that's all. Like Donald Trump, right? I'm not going to be PC. I want a wall. All right. Hillary Clinton doesn't want a wall. She wants a barrier. See? It sounds better. It's the same thing. It just sounds better. That's all it is, right? Yeah, that's it. All right. If I come out, right, and I make a video and I say, "Oh my God, I just heard the audio tape of Donald Trump, and I am so disgusted and so disappointed at the language that was used." He said pussy on tape. How can you use that word? That's not the type of language I want around my children. That's PC, right? Now, if I come out and I say, Donald Trump is a fucking disgusting animal, man. He's fucking bragging about assaulting women and shit and kissing them without their consent. He was once charged for trying to kiss somebody when she didn't want to, and later on he got caught on tape, admitting to it. That's some fucked up shit, right? Fuck Donald Trump. That's not PC, but I said the same thing, basically, right? That's it. Like, I don't trust that fucker around my kids. That's it. That's all it is, right? It's people seem to tie the two things together, right? If you ever work, it's just like when you have in most cases, if you have a career or a job, you're going to tend to speak in a more politically correct way to people, right? Than you are going to be with your friends or colleagues. Okay, that's what that is, right? It's a different form of expressing and being more sensitive about what other people may think about what you're saying. That's all PC is, right? It's saying it in a careful way. In all reality, right? It doesn't mean it's untrue, right? So anyway, it's just these are two things that I've noticed, right? And it's crazy because they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, and they're fucking annoying on both sides, right? Also, what's funny, since I'm here right now, right? It's not politically correct, right? So a lot of people that talk about like fuck PC culture and I'm not politically correct, and look, it's very politically it's not politically correct, right? To not salute the flag, right? The politically correct thing to do is stand up and put your hand on your heart, right? And the reason this is politically correct, because if Hillary Clinton, let's say for whatever reason, and they were playing the national anthem and she took a knee, okay, and she decided not to stand, I'm going to take a knee, right? She would lose the election, right? Just for doing that. And just think about all the things politicians do, and it's one thing would lose her the election. It really would, right? So many people, just that one gesture would make people not vote for her. It's period, right? She would probably lose in a landslide, right? So I've always found funny that a lot of these people that claim they're not politically correct, they have certain things they're very politically correct about. The flag is one of them, right? If I say it's a piece of cloth, right, that it's the meaning that matters. It's not the flag itself, right? And if I say, hey, I mean, if somebody wants to burn the flag, it's the right to do so. It's called freedom of expression. That's the truth, right? That's actually the truth. But it's not the politically correct thing to say, right? It just isn't. It's not politically correct, or you see, to say anything negative about the military, right? It's if you say something negative about the military, right, in any way, shape, or form, like the only words that should come out of a politician's mouth is our brave men and women of the armed forces. Like, you know, that's they have to have them at a high standard, right? You can't, you know, put them at a low. So you just can't. You'll rarely see a politician bash the military. You'll rarely see it, right? When there was like some rape scandals coming out of the military, the media really downplayed it. You know, if this was in any other, if it was not the military, if it was anything else, right? If it was, if male police officers were raping female police officers, okay, even that would have been all over the news, okay? If it's, and I'm talking about the alarming rates that it was happening at, because that was seen as, you know, being negative towards the military. That is a territory you just don't want to cross, right? Like that, you just don't want to go there. You know, it's you just don't want to go there. In fact, they anytime they want to justify a war, what do they say? Support our troops, right? And that's a political strategy, you know, because you start the war, you send the troops to war, right? And then what becomes a strategy? Hey, I'm going to support our troops, right? And the Pentagon will have surrogates, right, that will go on the MSNBCs and CNNs and Fox News, right? And they'll have them say, like former soldiers and shit, that, you know, hey, we wanted to be in Iraq. You know, we wanted the war. You know, we were fighting against them, you know, protecting the homeland. And this is something they do, right? And the media's in on it. They know what's going on. It's not like they don't know. Like, of course they know, right? You know, but the Pentagon, the military, it's very powerful, right? It's a very powerful thing. If you look at the way, right, when they kind of created the three branches of government, there is a reason that the President of the United States is the commander in chief, right? The president is in charge of the whole fucking military, right on top, right? And the reason for that is because they knew if the person in charge, right, if you put a general in charge of the military, right, and the president had no power over the military, what the fuck's going to stop the military from taking over the country, right? Nothing. Nothing's going to stop the military, right? You need a president who is voted into office by the people, for the people, the whole nine, right? And that person is in charge of the military. That's the way it's always been, right? Now, keep this in mind now, right? Saying anything about a general or anything like that, let's just stick to generals, right? They have some fucking war hawks in the Pentagon, man, right? Like, I'm talking war hawks. And it's designed that way, right? And in a way, if we ever need to go to war, yes, you do need people that are experts at war and know a lot about territory and invading countries. It's the way it is, right? So you do need that just in case, right? And these war hawks, they want to go to war. Like, you know, it's just the way it is. They see it as a big, chessboard to the world. And we're all a bunch of pawns to them, right? But the one thing people need to understand, right? And I want you to really think about this. You'll hear, right? And I want to make sure like everybody follows me here, right? No one's above criticism, and that's my whole point, right? But follow me here. Like you'll hear, right? Like I've heard it on Fox News, I've heard it on several mainstream media outlets, right? The generals are the experts. The generals tell us that we need to invade such and such country. The generals say, right? And no one ever really bashes the generals. Have you ever noticed that? They rarely do it. Now, these high-ranking officers were not elected by the people. They were not voted into that position, right? And think about that, right? The president is. Yet, we criticize the person voted in more than the generals in the military. You'll hear, I've heard some very dangerous things said by not just the media, but a lot of citizens, a lot of people, right? The level of trust that they have for these generals and the Pentagon, right? I mean, we are literally living, right, in the military industrial complex. Okay? I mean, it's just a majority of this country would be okay with just some random general being the commander in chief over the president that is voted by the people. And that is very, very disturbing. And yes, I've heard it. I've heard Sean Hannity say it, right? I've heard, say things like Obama should hand over the authority to such and such general, or he doesn't know what he's doing. And, that is astonishing to me, right? I mean, the thought of that is unbelievable. I mean, that is whenever a dictator, because if it's a lot easier for a general who has complete control over the military, right, to become a dictator than a president, right? It's just this. Because the general with control over the military, I mean, what do you do about that? You can't impeach him. What are you going to do, right? But anyway, just wanted to kind of put out there that PC culture is a problem, right? Of course it is. But a lot of these anti-PC individuals, though, don't even realize that they're deep into the military-industrial complex. Like, they don't even realize how deep they are into it. They don't even understand, how deeply rooted this whole thing is, and it's kind of sad. It really is. Not to say, like, I'm not here to talk shit about soldiers or none of that, and I'm not trying to be politically correct. I'm just telling you the truth, right? However, have a general to run our military, okay? Just be in charge of it all. Fuck no. Are you crazy? Are you dumb? Like, no, right? That's not going to happen, right? It's just not, right? That is the worst idea imaginable. I mean, and there are people out there that would trust a general to take over the military, right? I could guarantee you, every single person out there that hates Obama would be for just a random general, right, taking over the military over Obama. Like, they'll do it in a second. It's insane, right? So we can't. I believe as citizens and just people in general, they need to be more vocal about everything that is going on, and the best thing I could think of is, as an example, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, I think, I was talking to a veteran, and he kind of got offended that I said the war in Iraq was wrong. Right? It upset him. Right? And I could see why it upset him, because he spent several years there. Right? Or however long he was there. And he had like his man cave, and he had like pictures with his buddies from the military and stuff like that. But I had to explain to him, in the nicest way possible, that, dude, you were just a soldier. You were sent to war, right? I'm not blaming you, but if we look at the facts of the situation, it was just not the right war. We shouldn't have been there. Too many people died. And he talked about, his buddies that died. And yeah, I get it. And it's hard to look the soldier in the eye, right, and tell him all that shit, it was in vain. Right? It really is. But I don't think you should get mad at me about it. Okay, I'm not the one that started the war. I was against the war. Right? So I think that's one of the reasons people they're just very careful about what they say regarding the military. Right? I mean, you'll hear people talk about anti-government, less government, less government. You want to hear a peep about the military, which is the biggest. Most of our money goes into the military, right? And it's run by what? The government, right? So it's just a very interesting, dilemma there. You say, if I say, hey, just saying, let's cut military spending. I mean, people just like, what? Why would you do that? Like, it's just because, dude, like, way too much money is going to the military. I'm sorry. Like, what do you want me to say? And don't bring up the veterans. Most of that money doesn't go to the veterans anyway. So what? We got, military contractors, and most of the money goes to them and shit. Sometimes, they'll pay mercenaries way more money than they pay our own soldiers. So, like, it's just way too much money being thrown away, right? But you'll never see a hit piece on the Pentagon by the New York Times or CNN or Fox News, especially not Fox News, MSNBC, pick whatever you want to call it. They'll never do it. $1 trillion unaccounted for by the Pentagon. Not a peep about it by any politician. That is insane. Why? It's politically incorrect to, in any way, shape, or form, question the military and their practices. It just is. Right? And that's all I'll say. All right. Anyways, guys, let me check something real quick. But what's to say? I don't know. I was just trying to find something here. I'll say this, man. So I got a little more time here. I'll just read through some of the comments there. Yeah, the war in Iraq, man. I just saw Mr. Doc's comment there. It wasn't right. The war was wrong, right? I did, I could honestly see someone going to that war, maybe losing friends or comrades, or they get an injury there, and they don't want to believe that it was all for nothing, right? Like, for something, it's like, it's just in general, none of us want to do something for nothing, like, especially if you believe in something, you want to make sure it's for the right reason, right? So it does become like a conflict of interest to bring stuff up like that in front of veterans, because in a way you feel bad for them. But yes, there's also some veterans that flat out say, yeah, I was against the war, right? But that's the way it is. I'll never forget an MSNBC anchor got fired from MSNBC, because live on the air they said they were against the war in Iraq. They voiced their opinions and stated the facts of the matter. Had the audacity to be a journalist and tell the audience the truth. Tell them Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. The administration is lying to you, right? Got fired from MSNBC, it was not pro-Bush, MSNBC. But going against the president at a time of war, it's just, it could end your career apparently, and it did for some people. You know, now, I mean, coming out and saying now everybody's Monday morning quarterbacking it, right? Now saying it, yeah, totally, right? I mean, I'll never forget. If you guys can remember that group called the what do they call those three blonde chicks, man? The Dixie Chicks, right? When they came out and they voiced against the war in Iraq, right? I mean, country stations. I mean, we want to talk about PC outrage, okay? They cut them off. They not only did they stop playing their music, right? They were the most popular country group at the time. They stopped playing the music, right? They just said some disgusting things about them, right? Told them to shut the fuck up and move out of the country, right? They proceeded that I forgot the name of that one country singer, man, but he was really supportive of like George Bush and later on McCain, but Toby Keith, there you go. So Toby Keith, I mean, he came out just started beefing with them and telling them to shut up and support the troops. Again, made it about the troops, right? And I'll never forget, he was like buddies with a Marine, right? And the Dixie Chicks had a song called something like "Ain't Gonna Be Nice" or some bullshit like that. I forgot the name of the song, right? Anyway, this Marine, with the help of Toby Keith, made like a cover song of it, kind of. Just changed up the lyrics, you know, calling them, you know, privileged and crybabies and not grateful for the military. And I mean, that hit piece on them destroyed their careers overnight, right? They were getting death threats. I mean, it was crazy, you know? Yet you look back and you're like, now times have changed, you know, because now Donald Trump can come out and say, I was against the war in Iraq, right? And Republicans love him for it, right? Okay. This shit's insane, you know? So that's what I'm talking about. One of the biggest, the most, like, you could find almost anybody on social media that's anti-PC. They won't have a peep to say. You bring up anything. All right, I posted on freaking Facebook, hey, what's up with this bullshit that the Pentagon, you know, spent $500 million to make fake Al-Qaeda videos? Well, what's up? What the fuck's up with that? I mean, the excuses. Oh, you're being a conspiracy theorist. No, this was actually like reported by like websites that don't do conspiracy theories, right? So, well, Alex Jones talked about it. Well, Alex Jones talks about all that shit, whatever, right? But that's not my point. If I say, hey, the Pentagon, like, well, what's up? $1 trillion unaccounted for? We don't know what they did with $1 trillion. Think about that. We don't know what they did with $1 trillion. We don't know what they did with it. Like, there's no way, right? I mean, no other government program would be able to do that and not have one question asked. It just wouldn't happen. right? If you heard, hey, I don't know, $1 trillion just kind of disappeared from Social Security. We have no idea what happened. It just kind of disappeared. We don't know. Sorry, folks. That would be all over the news, right? There would be multiple. There was no hearings whatsoever. No hearings from Congress about this, and most of all, there was no outrage by the public. It's like no. It's the military. You know, they defend our freedom. Free check, blank check, whatever they want, right? What do you mean? Like, they just get a blank check? That's insane. I'm sorry, right? It's just crazy. You need to, like, people don't even realize this, right? You can take the next 10 nations, right? We're number one in military spending. You could take the next 10 nations after that. That's how many nations it takes to spend what we spend. That's including China, Russia, UK, you name it. I think Germany's in there, right? That's how many nations it takes, right, to equal the amount that we spend on the military yearly, right? That's crazy, especially when about 7 or 8 of those next 10 are our allies, right? It's not like we have to spend more than the next 10 because look how many enemies we have, right? And not only that, we have nuclear arms. No one is going to come invade us. It's not going to happen, right? It just isn't going to happen, right? It's no other country is going to come invade us, right? Our biggest threat to our society, right? Our biggest threat is domestic. It's not foreign, right? Of course, there's the off chance of a nuclear storm and all that, which would be terrible. The whole planet will all be wiped out, right? If that were to happen. But aside from that obvious problem, right? It's far more likely that a police state happens and there's a coup, and before you know it, we're living in a dictatorship or something like that. That's far more likely to happen, right? And I'm not just starting the conspiracy theories. I'm just saying, but that's far more likely than China coming over, invading, and taking over the country. It just is. It's far more likely to happen, right? In today's age, that's not how it just doesn't work that way. What's my point? My point is, we don't have to spend this much on the military. We waste so much money, right? See, this is how it works, right? They got lobbyists in Washington, right? You got defense contractors. These defense contractors, right, work for the Pentagon, right? And their goal is to get as much money as possible, right? So with taxpayer money, they fund, right, politicians, congressmen, senators, presidential candidates, okay? Okay, but both Hillary and Trump are getting money, okay? Like, it's just because it's just like a deal. Hey, here you go, hook us up, right? So they're literally using taxpayer money to give to politicians for their campaign so they can get elected. And once they're elected, okay, and they'll vote things in their favor. What is it? Like, I don't know, like, just for example, Israel in the next 10 years is going to get, I forgot the figure, I think it was like 34 or $38 billion, right? We're going to give Israel $38 billion. For what? What is that money for? Right? By the way, that's another PC thing you can't touch. Right? I mean, you criticize Israel, you're labeled an anti-Semite. Okay, shit's insane. So why is Israel getting this money for? Right? All right? I want you to think about this, okay? Because it's for their military. Well, who's going to build, the bombs and the planes and all that, the tanks? Who's going to build that? The same, defense contractors that are giving the politicians the money, right? It's a never-ending cycle. The same thing with, keep in mind, not only are we spending unbelievable amount of money on the military, which defense contractors spend a lot of money on that too, right? Not only that, we're also spending, right, money on Israel, Saudi Arabia, our allies, we'll hook them up. Well, see, this is what's going on, right? It's a business, and this business is run with our taxpayer money, right? And keep in mind, this is just the shit we could account for. What about all the unaccounted for stuff? You see, this is very dangerous, right? And I don't think people understand the level of danger here. Right? Now, I'm not saying, oh, tomorrow they're going to come take your guns. That's not what I'm saying. Relax, right? As long as, anything can happen, obviously, and things have happened to different civilizations, right? So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. But we are way too PC, should I say, when it comes to criticizing the military. People need to understand, when the military is criticized, we're not attacking the soldiers that serve in the military. That's not what I'm talking about. Right? I'm talking about the military contractors, because they don't even take care of these veterans, man. Right? I know some here, they don't make that much money, right? And some of them, they'll hook them up with a GI Bill and stuff like that. So it's not all terrible, but not only there's $1 trillion unaccounted for. But some veterans can't, they can't hook them up with some meds that they need for post-traumatic stress disorder or something. It's kind of crazy. And the Pentagon has known about post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, they've known about this. Okay, for decades, right? They've known about this for a very long time. But nobody's gonna bring that up, right? They're not, right? It's Congress. All the time votes down bills that are meant to help the VA and to help military families, and they do it all the fucking time. Okay, so don't come to me, right, and tell me, oh, you're being anti, men and women of the armed forces. No, that's not what this is at all. Okay? Let me just end it with this. And Obama could go on a State of the Union address, right? He'll say this, he'll say that, he'll get booed, he'll get claps, he'll get, half of the aisle stands up, the Democrats, and the Republicans don't stand up, right? Because they want to be anti-Obama no matter what, right? Obama says the line, our military is the best military that has ever existed. Every single fucking Republican that just for political reasons will not stand up and clap when Obama says something, even if they agree with it, right? They all got their asses up and they all started clapping. There's a reason for that, right? So, just got to keep that in mind. All right. Anyway, with that said, peace out.